We are going to be looking at some creepy videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. So we definitely have some bizarre things to talk about in today's video. For example, on the 21st and 22nd of this month, there will be some very bizarre coincidences playing out, and this one really disturbs me. There's also a very unusual website being played around on ads on different social media platforms, and there was something also very bizarre captured on this meteor radar. But outside of those, I do want to go ahead and talk about these just really quick. I'm sorry, but when it comes to this very first news story, I am not buying it whatsoever, and it just happens to be downright bizarre.
Wednesday, Utah Highway Patrol was investigating an accident on the I-15 near Linden. Officials said the semi came up behind slowed traffic and wasn't able to stop before hitting a minivan. Because it was a commercial vehicle, they brought in a truck inspector who noticed something odd.
He took a photo of the rear of the truck, and there was a slight gap in the door, and he happened to see a set of eyes looking at him as he took that photo. And then he knew we had more problems than just the accident.
Lieutenant Clay Morgan says the driver, 28-year-old Jacob Ortel Scott, admitted to having his two younger half-sisters in the back. Officials said the 14 and 12-year-old girls were homeschooled but needed to come to Salt Lake to take a test and help a family member who's having twins. The probable cause statement says the girls had been in the refrigerated trailer, which was cooled to 30 degrees since Huntington, Utah. That's about 2 hours from Linden. Officers said because of the way the door was latched, there was no way for the girls to get themselves out of the trailer. Police arrested Scott on suspicion of aggravated child abuse. They're still investigating the incident. In Salt Lake City, Avery Klanowski, Fox 13 News, Utah.
So is anybody buying this, that this truck crashes and police find these two girls in the refrigerated section of the truck locked in, and the excuse is that these are his relatives that he's driving? Now, I have seen trucks that look like this size that have seated 3 people in the front of the truck or the cab of the truck, and given the fact that these sound like 2 smaller girls, they could have easily sat in the front, so nothing is adding up here. And police investigators, they want to quickly sweep this under the rug as a personal instance of child abuse, but could this lead down a deeper rabbit hole of human trafficking they don't want to expose? These news stations playing this clip are getting heavily ratioed because nobody is buying it. A lot more people believe this is a cover-up for human trafficking. In other bizarre news, when it comes to a child found in the back of somebody's vehicle, and yes, I consider anybody who's under the age of 18 to be a child. This individual, who is a up-and-coming singer, he goes by David. Now, I've never heard of him, but like I said, he's up-and-coming and gaining more and more popularity and fame. He started on YouTube, and most of us know anyway that when you're up-and-coming in Hollywood or the music industry, in order to get this fame and continue this fame, you have to do some very horrific ritualistic things. Well, about a week ago, news came out that a badly decomposed body was found inside his impounded Tesla in Los Angeles. This apparently happened while he was on tour. Somebody had spotted the abandoned Tesla, called it in, and it was impounded. Now, while it was impounded at this lot, those working at this impound lot smelled a very foul odor coming from this Tesla. They decided to call police. Police come out, and again, they open up the Tesla, and they find this body in this bag, very decomposed, and also the parts of the body had been cut up. This individual, David, was fully cooperating with police. Well, now it has come out that this individual found inside his Tesla was a 15-year-old girl who had been missing ever since 2024. She had been identified as Celeste Rivas. Now, this takes a very eerie twist because David had a couple of interesting songs, one of them titled Romantic Homicide, but he also had an unreleased song, a demo song titled Celeste. So his unreleased song shares the same name as the 15-year-old girl who was found cut up and in a bag inside his Tesla. What is even more interesting is that this 15-year-old and David had matching tattoos on their finger. This is him describing one of his songs, which I believe is titled Romantic Homicide.
I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died. And I didn't even cry, not a single tear. I do. So it's not like the thought of her is gone by itself was something that she did. It was something that I decided to do. And I in the back of my mind. It's really more of a figurative "I killed you," especially in the back of my mind. I try to stress that in the back of my mind. That's why I say it so loud. In the back of my mind, you died. In the back of my mind, I killed you. So it's all in the mind because that's the most secure place you can be is in your mind. So if you can expel that thought from your mind, then everything else will just come together.
I mean, that should have been a major red flag right there that something's not right here. And still, as of right now, police are not labeling David as a suspect, even though they raided his home to find any connection. But this really does have all the smell of a Hollywood ritualistic sacrifice, one of those blood sacrifices. And it could also be the fact that he met her back in 2023, which would make her 13 and him 18. And again, he would be a child offender if this was indeed the case. And he's trying to hide any evidence of that. Hollywood, the music industry, is definitely some sick stuff. And no matter the genre, no matter if they're with TVs and movies, when it comes to a lot of these people, you're going to find some dark and twisted stuff that they have done, again, to get this fame. In this next creepy segment, to continue to push the alien UFO invasion agenda, more and more people are reporting that they are getting this ad to pop up. Matter of fact, this also popped up for me on Reddit, but this is appearing on Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, X, and so forth. It's this ad right here. $10,000 reward for exotic materials. Have you found a strange metallic object, debris, or artifact that behaves unusually? We're offering up to $10,000 for verifiable materials with exotic physical properties. What? So apparently these are the materials they're looking for. Materials with unusual electromagnetic properties, objects of potentially non-human technological origin, artifacts exhibiting anti-gravitational effects, metamaterials with anomalous structural properties. So I tried calling the phone number and it leads to Washington, D.C., but it kept ringing. So I went to the website right here, retrievalgroup.com, and it looks like an actual website. So on the About section, it goes on to say that, why do we do this? For too long, the most significant technological breakthroughs have been locked away in classified programs, private aerospace corporations, and government black sites. These discoveries, potentially including materials of non-human origin, represent humanity's greatest opportunities for advancement. We believe that revolutionary technology should not be the exclusive domain of military-industrial complexes or billionaire space entrepreneurs. Every human being deserves access to discoveries that could solve energy crisis, cure disease, enable space exploration, and fundamentally improve life on Earth. Our mission is to create an independent pathway for these materials to reach the scientific community where they can be studied openly, published freely, and developed for the benefit of all humanity. And even if this is a legit website where they would want you to send them in your very bizarre findings, all of this would go right back to the government. And yes, this could be fake, this could be some kind of role playing, but the timing of all of this is very, very weird, given the fact that the government, they are heavily pushing the alien agenda, and not just in the United States, but also in other countries like China. And apparently the only way to send them information is to contact them by phone. You can text them as well. Like I said, it oddly leads back to Washington, D.C., but you would also have to include photos, videos, or documents that go securely through this signal, what they're calling a signal. And again, oddly enough, this is being displayed as an ad all across different social media platforms. In this next creepy segment, apparently there are about to be some eerie coincidences because there is going to be a partial solar eclipse that will happen between the 21st and 22nd of this month. This will also be the final solar eclipse of 2025, just how like the final solar eclipse of 2024 was the April 8th solar eclipse, and there was a lot of bizarre things surrounding that solar eclipse. Or I should say it was the last total solar eclipse until the 2040s, because there was another solar eclipse in October of 2024. But when it comes to this one coming up, it won't be visible in North America. It'll be visible in other continents, including Antarctica. But apparently some interesting things will also be happening during that time. What also happens to be a very interesting coincidence is the fact that the Jewish holiday, the Feast of Trumpets, for the very first time in history, will fall on a partial solar eclipse. It says right here, the Feast of Trumpets begins at sundown on September 22nd, based on the Jewish calendar, which could align with the eclipse's timing in certain areas. One of those locations just happened to be New Zealand. Now, New Zealand has an interesting focus on it when it comes to social media and this whole Charlie Kirk shooting, which I will go ahead and get into. And on top of this, on the day of the solar eclipse, September 21st, will also be the same exact day of Charlie Kirk's funeral. But also another very interesting coincidence happening on September 22nd happens to be the fact that Peter the Reptile Thiel, which his name is the anagram for the reptile, he will be doing his second part of his 4-part series on the Antichrist. So we have this partial solar eclipse, Charlie Kirk's funeral, New Zealand, Israel, the Feast of Trumpets, and we have the reptile talking about the Antichrist. I guess that's all just a quote-unquote coincidence. But when it comes to New Zealand and a certain island on New Zealand, the coincidences are becoming more and more bizarre. Now, when we heard Kash Patel say, "I'll see you in Valhalla," in reference to Charlie Kirk, we all thought it was a little strange, a little odd, and it didn't make much sense. But now, maybe this does make a little bit more sense.
These connections keep getting weirder and weirder. So right at the end of this press conference where Kash Patel announces that they caught Charlie Kirk's killer, Tyler Robinson, Kash Patel ends it with Charlie Kirk, "I'll see you in Valhalla."
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Now, what's interesting is that one of the pictures that they put out of Tyler Robinson shows Tyler Robinson in his bedroom next to his computer. On the computer is a picture of an island. That island is called Goat Island, and it's located in New Zealand, that has a retreat called Valhalla. Isn't that weird? That's just weird.
This Valhalla is not just any retreat, it actually belongs to the Danish Society. Now, there's 2 types of Danish societies. There is one where anybody who is Danish can become a member, and there's also another one that operates just like the Free People Society. They do all the rituals just like the Free People Society, which would kind of make a lot of sense given the fact they captured the suspect in 33 hours. No matter which Danish society actually owns this Valhalla, it's still very interesting the fact that the suspect had this wallpaper of this New Zealand island, and not too far from there just happens to be Valhalla. In this next creepy video, this individual is monitoring the Live Meteors website when he starts to notice some very bizarre things. Now, there's definitely been some very bizarre things in the skies, these fireballs and so forth, that they keep labeling meteors. Now, this could also fall into the whole fake alien agenda, but I have always said, even though I do believe the government is planning something like that, entities and other things actually do exist. I have to differentiate what's truly out there and what the government themselves is planning. But this next video is pretty interesting to say the least.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? So I want to show everybody something. See, this is called Live Meteors live stream. Okay, it's on YouTube. And this shows you the atmosphere of our planet. And what happens is when you see a meteor come through the atmosphere on this program, it'll create a whistle noise, and then you'll see an object come down the screen. And there'll be different sizes, and there'll be different colors, okay? Different colors. More red, bigger the object, right? Some more dense the object, okay? Now check this out. I've been watching this thing since 2017. And I've seen a lot of cool things where this is anywhere on the planet. Okay? So when you see a meteor come down, you could be outside and look up and see the actual meteor that came down on the screen. It might come down over your head. You don't know where it is, right? This isn't specific to an area. This is everywhere. Okay? This could be your state. It could be my state that you're seeing them. You don't know. Okay, it doesn't specify. Okay, there's no specification for this. So what I'm trying to tell you is I've been watching this since 2017. Now, we're getting some really, I showed this to my roommate, and he saw an anomaly yesterday that I've never seen the entire time I watched this. He kind of caught it. Check this out. Never ever have I seen any lines go across the screen. Ever. Since 2017, you can go back and you can watch all the other replays of this channel on YouTube. I suggest you guys go subscribe to it and start watching it. Once you see this, I have never seen anything like this. This has to be some kind of crazy anomaly, and I'm very, very suspicious of this. Check this out. Look at the horizontal lines. I've never ever seen horizontal lines before. Ever. This is what's meteors that are coming into the atmosphere and breaking up. Now listen to the static that starts here. I've never ever seen it do this, ever. All of a sudden it starts doing this. Something's going on. This is something that's not normal to this. Watch. It gets crazier. That's why I made this a 10-minute video, because this is crazy, people. Look. See, these are meteors coming into the atmosphere. Look at these. They're supposed to be whistling right now, but some kind of interference is happening. I've never ever seen before, and all these are coming in perfect lines. And all of a sudden we're getting this interference. Oh, that kind of looks like a bunch of ships to me. What the heck is this anomaly? It started yesterday. It was just noticed again a couple hours ago. Look at the interference. It's never done this before. And then we got continuous lines coming in right here as soon as this interference starts. That's suspicious to me, people. Something is going on with this site, and it's never done this since 2017, since I started watching it. You can call it what you want, but I've been watching this program. It's really neat. Your kids can watch it. It makes whistle noises when they come into the atmosphere, but this is an anomaly. This is something different. Something else is happening. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen horizontal static and interference on this program ever. It gets worse too. This was early this morning. Something's going on, people. Look. The more red, the more dense the object, right? Look. Look at these coming in. All kind of almost similar shapes. Some of them are the same shapes. I've never seen anything like this. I've never had static like this and had horizontal lines. This is crazy. I've never seen it do this ever and have continuous stuff coming in. This is insane. Those are not natural, people. I'm telling you right now, these have to be ships or something. That's why the interference. I'm going to end this video and make it start another one.
In this next video, this individual finds it very interesting that his phone perhaps may be spying on him or some type of technology. But if you had seen one of my previous videos on Minutes of Horror, we are well past this part because I had given multiple examples where they can even read what you're thinking.
After what just happened, I will never question again whether or not the government's always listening. Listen to this. So I'm driving back home from San Antonio, Texas today. Like every normal Friday that I have to work down there, I got about a 6-hour drive ahead of me. This week is unlike other weeks because my foreman rode with me all week long, so he rode with me today on this drive back. As people do on long rides, you end up talking about the most random. We're talking about women, we're talking about drinking, we're talking about everything under the planet, including TV shows and movies that we really like to watch. I bring up What We Do in the Shadows because I just saw a couple episodes last night and said, man, this is a pretty fun show. Then I remember, oh, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I've seen a couple episodes of that and it's pretty funny too. And I tell him that the last time I watched that show was about a month and a half ago when I decided to start at season 1, episode 1. And on that night, I watched 3 episodes. Then my foreman tells me about an episode in the newer seasons where one of the guys cheats to win a chess match by using vibrating anal beads. That's funny as hell, right? Isn't that funny? And it was funny until just a few moments ago. You see, when I got home today, I let the dog outside. Then I decided to put on What We Do in the Shadows because I was just talking about it, fresh on my mind, and I wanted to watch it. In the middle of watching one of the episodes, I realized I had already seen it, so I played on my phone and decided I'm going to go smoke a cigarette outside. When I came back inside from smoking, What We Do in the Shadows had finished. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia had started playing. And the episode that started playing was the one where the guy cheats to win at a chess match using vibrating anal beads. What the I knew that our smart devices listen to us, but this is ridiculous. Nope.
In this next creepy video, I completely forgot about this horrific event, but watching this individual's video from True Crimer, this really could have been prevented, but so many people had lost their lives due to this one event.
Would burn alive in one of the worst deaths imaginable. Viewer discretion is advised. This was the Station nightclub, which was in Warwick, Rhode Island. It had been in existence there since about 1946. It's a relatively small venue and it had a legal capacity of 404 people. On February 20th, 2003, the band Great White was playing at the Station nightclub. And while the capacity was 404, there were 462 people inside the building. By everyone's recollection, it was absolutely packed in there. This was the stage manager for the band, a man named Daniel Beakley. The band's performance started at 11:07 p.m., and within the first song, Daniel Beakley releases some pyrotechnics. I guess these pyrotechnics were called 15 by 15s or something like that, meaning they would go 15 feet in the air and they lasted for 15 seconds. He set off 4 different ones. 2 of them would go at an angle, the other 2 went straight up. Now, the roof of the nightclub was only 12 feet above them. And again, these pyrotechnics would reach 15 feet And so the two that were on the farther side, so the ones that were pointing straight up, this is an image of it, they hit the ceiling, which came into contact with the foam that was in the ceiling. Within 9 seconds, there were flames noticed by several people who were watching the concert. And at first they thought this was part of the show, but then the smoke began to billow. The flames got larger, and within 60 seconds, the entire front of the whole stage was on fire. It happened so fast that people barely had time to react and process what was happening. Within 20 seconds of the fire basically starting, the band was rushed off the stage. Within 60 seconds, the entire nightclub was full of smoke and flames. Within 6 minutes, the entire nightclub was engulfed completely. The fire was so extreme that it actually exploded some of the power lines next to the building, which caused more fire. 911 had been called within 90 seconds of the fire starting, and first responders were there by 11:13 p.m. And then more and more came. At one point, it got to like 100 different fire trucks and ambulances. But the fire, it was massive. I mean, and it just erupted within minutes. Everything in this building was decimated. And I was watching a clip on this, and someone said that if you weren't at that exit within 60 seconds of those flames starting, you were going to die. That's how fast this fire spread. What made matters worse was that there were actually 4 total exits in the building, but the people, the patrons inside, only knew about one, and that was the way they came in. It's one of those things, I guess, you don't really think about, like, hey, where are the emergency exits? You go to what you know for sure is an exit. And this exit/entrance was in this little narrow hallway, which means people completely, almost everyone in there, bum rushed this area. And within moments, there were people just falling over, stacking up on top of each other, and clogging this exit. Around 11:57 p.m., once all the chaos was still just going crazy inside, I mean, the fire had completely destroyed the building, but at that point, the roof collapsed. There were people who did go to other exits in the building, and eventually they were able to finally get the flames out. And when they did, this was the aftermath. It's an unbelievable image. It is utterly horrifying how fast this happened and how little time you have as a person to process and react to what is going on. And when you are surrounded by hundreds of people who are all trying to do the same thing, trying to get out of this building, and I can't even imagine. I can't even begin to process that myself. And finally, once the smoke had settled, body after body after body pulled from the burnt out husk of this building. In the end, 100 people died in that fire. 96 of them were pronounced dead at the scene. A large portion of them had died from smoke inhalation, from burning alive. Some died from being crushed to death, asphyxiation. This did include one of the band members who was playing that night. I believe it was their guitarist who died. And then 4 people from the nightclub who worked there died. 100 people. And it all happened in 6 minutes. There is now a memorial there at the site to honor all of those who died and all of the first responders who saved lives. There were 230 additional non-fatal injuries, and about 130 of them escaped without any injuries at all. But they will probably always have that mental scar forever. Daniel Beakley, the man who ignited the whole thing, which obviously he did not do with the intent for this to happen, but at the same time, it's like, this never should have been done. He would plead guilty to 100 counts of involuntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison. He only had to serve 4. He was released in 2008. Michael and Jeffrey Derderian, who were, I guess, owners of the Station nightclub, they would both end up pleading no contest instead of making the families go through any kind of trial. And I know Michael got the same sentence that Daniel Beakley got, and Jeffrey was sentenced to 500 hours of community service. And obviously there were lawsuits and money was paid to victims' families. There was like $115 million worth of civil settlements made. A whole bunch of people, like the city of Warwick, the company who made the foam insulation. I mean, there was a whole bunch of people who were sued in all of this. But at the end of the day, 100 families no longer have their loved ones. They are gone forever. And you just have to think, this never ever should have even happened.
This next creepy video comes from Too Much of a Coincidence, and she kind of makes a lot of sense. She kind of gives a very interesting idea here. Are cities designed in a certain way for certain reasons, certain purposes?
What if city streets, subways, power lines, the whole grid of the city is specifically laid out that way for a giant mind control antenna? This is a theory that I don't think I've heard a deep dive on, so let's get into it. And of course, this is for entertainment purposes only. And I definitely need my conspiracy theory socks for this one. Now, old cities were not built on a grid system like they build cities today. Instead, they used all these unusual shapes that make me immediately think that that's some kind of psychic antenna. Like, these cities were laid out and built in a specific way to harness energy and use it. And that sounds crazy, but why would you lay a city out in a specific shape and pattern? Like this one, for instance. This is Palmanova, Italy. I don't know if I'm saying that right, probably not. But it was built in 1593. What's the purpose behind building a city in this shape? There's nothing in 1593 that allows you to see this shape from above. This one is Washington, D.C., and it's a very interesting layout. Can you spot the interesting shapes? How about now? And this spot right here in the center that connects these two shapes, that's the White House. And when you know about the group that built a lot of these cities in the 1700s, it makes sense. They were real into esoteric stuff. But how about modern cities? I guess the reasoning behind laying out a city in a grid pattern is for efficiency, good use of space. Well, there's a theory that it's really just aligning geometric patterns. And those patterns act like an antenna. And by running synchronized frequency shifts through things like electricity or fibers like internet fibers or mass transit, because all of those systems are connected throughout the grid, whoever controls the pulses, in theory, can do a mass mood change. Also controlling risk-taking and attention to different things. Shaping markets, elections, and viral trends without anyone noticing. And maybe these grid antennas aren't causing the mood shift, but maybe they're amplifying it. So an event is caused, and then the pulses are sent out through the cities to amplify or change the mood. There's also the theory that blackouts or mass transit outages are like a quick switch off, quickly reducing changes in the public. There's a theory that they have crowd control devices, but what if they don't even need those devices? What if they're just using the layout of the city? Like the entire city is being used as a mass control device. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.